Michael Harris faced an unfair demand from his HOA, forcing him to hand over blueprints for a barn on his own land. Led by Linda Price, the HOA wielded its power like a weapon, bullying neighbors and blocking his project without real authority. But when Sheriff John Baker stepped in, questioning the HOA's claims, everything changed. Just wait until you see how this fight for rights unfolded, and how justice finally took its rightful place. Part 1. Shock. The HOA Demand. Michael Harris had always dreamed of improving his farmstead, nestled in the quiet outskirts of Missouri. After months of planning, he finally decided to build a new barn, a sturdy structure that would help him protect his equipment and livestock from the harsh weather. Confident and excited, he began preparing for the project. Then, out of nowhere, a crisp envelope arrived in his mailbox. Inside was a letter from the local homeowners association, HOA. The letter wasn't just a polite notice. It demanded detailed blueprints for the barn before any construction could begin. Worse, it warned Michael that failure to comply would result in hefty fines. Michael sat down, stunned. How could a private group, one that didn't even own the land, have the authority to dictate what he built on his own property? The shock hit him hard. This wasn't just a bureaucratic hurdle. It felt like an invasion of his rights. For the first time, Michael realized that his quiet farming life was about to face a battle he hadn't expected. One with rules and powers that seemed out of place on his own land. The fight wasn't just about a barn anymore. It was about standing up for control over his own home. Michael quickly learned that the HOA was no ordinary neighborhood group. At its helm was Linda Price, a woman known for her strict enforcement of every minor rule and an eagerness to assert control over the residents. From the start, Linda made it clear she intended to use every tool at her disposal to stop Michael's barn project. As Michael talked to neighbors, he heard stories that made his blood boil. The HOA had a reputation for micromanaging, sending letters over trivial issues, and bullying anyone who stepped out of line. Some had been fined for the smallest infractions, like planting the wrong flowers or parking a vehicle in the wrong spot. It wasn't about community, it was about control. For Michael, the rules suddenly felt like a cage. The more he tried to navigate their demands, the more suffocating they became. Every attempt to push forward met resistance from Linda and her supporters, who seemed determined to block him at every turn. The injustice of it all sparked a deep, growing anger. This wasn't just bureaucracy, it was an abuse of power, and Michael knew he couldn't back down. Frustrated and overwhelmed by the HOA's relentless pressure, Michael knew he couldn't face this fight alone. Determined to protect his rights, he decided to take the issue to the local sheriff, John Baker, a man known for fairness and a no-nonsense approach. At their meeting, Michael laid out the situation clearly, showing the letters, the demands, and the mounting threats of fines. Sheriff Baker listened carefully, his expression growing serious. After reviewing the details, he didn't hesitate to question the HOA's authority. Do they even have the legal right to demand blueprints or stop you from building on your own property? He asked sharply. Michael's anger swelled, not just at the HOA, but at how easy it was for such groups to misuse their power. But Sheriff Baker's support sparked a new determination in him. Here was someone who understood the real issue and was ready to stand up for justice. For the first time since this nightmare began, Michael felt he had a true ally, someone who would fight alongside him to defend what was rightfully his. After careful review, Sheriff John Baker delivered his decision. The HOA had no legal authority to demand Michael's barn blueprints or to block his construction. Their threats of fines were empty and their power limited by law. Michael was finally free to move forward, standing on his land, watching the empty field where the barn would rise. Michael felt a deep sense of victory, not just over the HOA, but over the injustice that had threatened to steal his peace. The struggle had been exhausting and frustrating, but it proved one thing. When you stand firm and refuse to back down, fairness can prevail. Michael's barn wasn't just a building. It was a symbol of standing up for what's right, a testament to courage against overreach. As the sun set behind his property, he smiled, knowing he had reclaimed control of his own home and won a hard-fought justice.